And good morning, everybody. We're live. Congratulations. You made it through the week. Another week of amazing food safety, amazing food quality, bringing us the trust and the safety we all need to make sure that our food is wonderful and wholesome and doesn't contain red dye number 3 here in the US. And if nobody's going to thank you for all your hard work, guess what? Alex and I this week, we're going to say thank you. We appreciate everything that you do. French kiss for everybody. So if you're new, pull up a chair. This is the Food Safety Chat live, and every Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Time, 10 a.m. Eastern, we do a live stream, and I get to bring on a guest, and we get to talk with you about all things food safety. And if you're new, you'll also notice that not a lecture, and this is not us telling you what you need to do. This is more meant to be a transfer of information. And as I'm sure Alex agrees as well, a lot of time that lesson is learned from very bad mistakes. And so hopefully if we can prevent you from making the mistakes that I know I've made in my career, all the better for everybody else, because we all want safe food. So with that, I'm always happy. So when Alex and so Alex, I love your title on this too, Alex. So food safety coach at Navigate Food Safety Solutions. And as anybody who's familiar with the show knows, we do a pre-chat and then we kind of talk. And Alex, I think every time that you and I talk and do our pre-chats, it's not a quick 15, 30-minute prep call for this. We talk for an hour, hour and a half, and we just get going and we feed on each other, and it's always so much fun.
The funny thing is we don't even know what we're going to talk about. I have no plan, you have no plan, and it's always fantastic.
Yeah, that is always the part that amazes me. It's like, oh gosh, so this is chat number 212 that we've been doing this. And I go through the same thing every week as well. It's like, oh gosh, let's see if we can find a topic. And without fail, every single time we always find a fantastic topic to go over. And good morning, everybody. People are filing in here. Elena, always good to see you. Ivana, Lance, good to see you as well. And of course, as everybody's doing here, we have this tradition of letting us know where in the world you are at, where in the planet. I'm in Loveland, Colorado, where Alex, it's going to be pretty decent today. We're going to get in Fahrenheit up to 48F. I always translate because that's rude. Almost 9 degrees today. But as I'm sure is coming your way as well, massive cold front is coming into the U.S. and it's going to become very cold starting tomorrow. We're getting some snow here. I think the high... it's going to be, so for Saturday, as I look at my thing, the high temperature is 18. It's going to be 8 below C for a high come Fridays. So Saturday morning. So as anybody who watches the chat as well knows, Alex, you are in the study room at your father's house, correct?
Yeah, my father's den. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
For the next time we have a chat, you need a pipe. I want to see you like, yes, that's that's a good opinion. Oh yes, Brian, I see what you. That would be awesome.
I'll see what I can
do. So Jennifer, we have a fellow Canadian in Ontario. Nice. Duncan's here across the pond, and of course Austin. And congratulations to Austin. So he has a new role with Meritech, and so Meritech is a company that does automated hand washing. They're based here in the Denver area. They have really cool machines that you put your hands in, and it kind of standardizes that washing process. So I know Austin's going to do amazing work with them. So congrats, my friend. Appreciate it. So, gosh, we got a ton to go over here. But I guess to start off here correctly, Alex, why don't you give everybody a little bit about what you do, because you are a busy dude. So what are the things that you do in your company, and what are you working on?
Sure. So I have a company. It's called Navigate Food Safety Solution. I run that with my wife and Ellen, are everything. It's the three of us, and we do a few things. One of the things we do is we develop online training. So we have a full online training. We have a pretty decent online training program, and we're building on it. And we're teaching people the same kind of stuff that we would teach if we were doing coaching, because we also do coaching. We also help companies. Usually, like everybody in general, if you talk to anybody, everybody's somewhere and they want to be better. And I was
Mhm.
talking about that after our chat. There's two types of changes. Okay, there's kind of a step change where you're somewhere and you have to make a big step, and then there's kind of another change which is kind of incremental change. And typically,
Mhm.
when you do incremental change, well, you just get better and better at what you're doing. So this is a change. It's not a change in kind. It's a change in efficiency, if you want, or in skill, or something like that. But when you do a step
Yeah.
change, you're doing something completely different. And if you're going to, if a company, you don't have a standard, you don't, a lot of the people we work with don't have a GFSI standard like certification, and they want to get that. So they're here, they want to be certified. Or in Canada, you want to export, and be the same thing in the US. You want to export across a state border. You want to export across a provincial border. Then you've got different regulations that you need to comply with, and so you're at a certain level, and then you're going to be at a different level of scrutiny. So you have to have more programs. So we have a full we have a process to help people go from here to there. Now, a lot of times it's very important for people to define what this is, because if all you want is to be certified, well, you'll end up with a ton of programs that are designed to placate or to please the auditor, and not necessarily things that are sustainable, that you can implement all year round, that your whole team is engaged in, that kind of stuff. So the second part, so we have online training, we have the coaching practice that are both aligned. We're teaching the same thing as online as we would to, and it's part of our process to teach. Like the online training is part of our coaching process as well.
Mhm.
And then the third thing we do is we develop solutions to problems. To problems. So higher level. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah. So even with that, right, it's kind of hard to condense down all the different stuff that you're working on, and the different things behind the scenes as well too. So that's really, really cool. And so here in the links, let me put in here. So here's Alex's website, navigatefoodsafety.com. Check it out. Tons of good material there. So before we get too far into stuff here, let's not forget our beverage here. You reminded me. So cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Very good. And so this really gets into our topic for today, and it's around being a change agent. But first, gotta do the dad joke, Alex. Are you ready?
I was going to say.
All right, here we are. Alex, why are chemists excellent problem solvers? Well, it's very easy for them. They have all the solutions.
Pretty good at that, Bryan. Gee.
My wife is a chemist, and so yeah, she liked that one.
How many jokes do you run by your wife every week to pick the right one? That's what I want.
Oh yeah, and I also run them by. There's a clients that I have, and I run them by my clients, and it's funny because you don't think about. I mean, dad jokes are a good example of this because we have these cultural differences, and so there's some members on the team for a company I work with, Malaysian, Brazilian, Mexican, and a lot of times when I tell these jokes, the reference is so ingrained in American culture or thing that I'll tell the joke and they're kind of like, no, here's, and then you got to explain it.
Here's the explanation. Yeah.
Which ruins the joke. So
you don't realize
I try
how much of our language are images, and
yes,
solution and solution, same word, different images, and if a culture has one solution, like a word for, like different words for the two things, the connection just doesn't happen. It's very interesting. Anyways.
Yeah, it's part of that quirkiness of the English language where we have these double meanings for words and inferences and all these strange things that if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of like Chinese, right? So Mandarin, and they will play with characters and have slightly different meanings. So there was a I think I'm going to mess this one up, but if there's anybody from China who has a background, then this would be interesting. So I saw on X that there was a symbol for woman, and then there was three symbols together, and then that changed into the word for it was like noisy, something like that.
Bryan?
It's like, okay, not an endorsement by me. I just thought it was interesting. My wife would not like that either.
Yeah.
with
So moving right along.
yes, with that, yeah, no hate mail, no hate mail. So with that, I mean, it kind of gets into our theme today, and you were alluding on this a little bit, as being a change agent.
Yeah.
And really, here with my book sitting back here, that's the reason I wrote it, because one of those step changes almost all of us go through in our career is if you're promoted, that's a huge step change, right? Because you're good at doing a job, right? I was a microbiologist. You're good at doing that. Somebody comes and says, "Congratulations," and they promote you to the manager of the lab or whatever. Now all of a sudden you're doing completely different work. You're now supervising the people you used to work with. That's a step change. And then you've got to ramp that up and take on those new tasks.
Completely different task, completely different skill, nothing transferable. Understanding what people have to do doesn't mean that you've got the communication skills to you know get the message
Accomplish.
across. You don't have necessarily the planning skills. You don't, yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
instance, like, what I find interesting in the work that we do, like in everything we do, we always do it through the concept of agents of change. And we like, again, like, you can either be a technical expert in food safety or an agent of change. And again, the skills that you need to be an agent of change to help people develop programs that are going to meet their needs,
Mhm.
including but not limited to being, meeting an external standard, because nobody needs programs that meets an external standard as a single need. They have all kinds of other needs, and helping people, and as an external agent, whether you're a technical expert or an agent of change, you can never find the perfect solution without engaging the people who are going to be using implementing the program and managing those programs and so on and so forth. So the work that you
Yeah.
do to build capacity is very different and it does include some technical expertise, but it's a lot more than technical expertise.
Yep. And so really, we're going to dive into that subject here, but I wanted to kind of bring up a point here, and I wanted to emphasize this because this kind of definitely dovetails in with a very interesting food safety chat we had not too long ago with Dustin Finkel, who is CEO, chief operating officer, executive within the food industry. And one of the things, Alex, that we were talking about is nobody likes a complainer, right? Is if you're trying to become this change agent, which is the topic of our discussion today, and you're a whiner about it, of, well, why don't we do this? And how come nobody listens to me? And we need to do this, and I don't have a budget, right? Well, number one, it's a convenient way to have an excuse to say, oh, I tried to do things, but nobody will listen to me. Another approach is, well, maybe if I just nag people a little bit more, then maybe people will start doing. No, right? So you get yourself stuck in this position of this downward spiral of people don't want to even talk with you anymore because every time it's just complaining, and if they see you in the hall and they turn around and they walk the other way because
Things get
nobody wants to deal with it.
confrontational, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and you're in a really bad spot if you're trying to push forward new food safety initiatives and everything else. And you have to recognize that. And that whining is never a place you want to be. And as we were preparing for the chat, I definitely wanted to mention this quote because I went and looked at some more information on this gentleman. So Marshall McLuhan, and you had a great quote that just struck me, Alex, like a bolt of lightning. I think it's a great way to dive into our topic. We drive into the future using only our rearview mirror. Ooh. Right? We're guilty of that inequality, aren't we?
Yeah. So the idea there is, instead of looking at the world in front of us, we tend to look at the past as if, like, we tend to filter everything that we're looking at, not with fresh eyes, but we tend to look at everything through the filter of what has happened in the past, and we're only open to the possibilities of what has happened in the past, rather than say, okay, what's in front of us, what can we do with what's in front of us. I love that quote. Like, it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's a
In all areas of life, everywhere. uh,
yeah. Oh, exactly. And you have to be forward looking. And if you're going to do that, number one is if you're working in quality and food safety, there's really, and this is something I always looked at in my roles in the past when I had teams, is there's really kind of what I view is two different groups of people in really all kinds of different roles. There's builders and maintainers. and they're pretty easy to spot with a couple of different questions, right? So if you're a maintainer, it would be okay. What does the standard say? What did we put together a quality report? What's the quality manual require me to do? It's kind of like your job description. These are the different things that you need to do. You're maintaining what's already there. Somebody has built something, and now it's your job to maintain it. The other side of that is the builders, and the builders are not as frequent, and they're sometimes hard to find. But a good indicator of a builder, Alex, is somebody who asks questions all the time. Well, why? Why do we have SQF certification? Why do we have non-GMO project certification on our why? Right? They're always asking questions, and they're searching for new ways.
Why do we do it that way? Why wouldn't we try this? That kind of question, right?
Right. And people who are maintainers, one of the key things, and this is everybody who knows on the chat from me, this is a pet peeve for me, is if I hear somebody say to me when I'm asking questions, because I'm a builder, when I ask questions, if they say something like this, I'm sure you heard this before too, Alex, is, Bryan, well, yeah, this is how we've always done it. As if that's an answer.
The other one that really gets me is because it's written in the book. So I'm an auditor. I talked about what we do at Navigate Food Safety, but really my background, I started as an auditor. And one of the things as a builder or as a very curious person, I've always wanted to understand why things were as they are in the book. And I always thought that if it's written in the book, if it's written in the standard, there has to be a good reason for it. And if there's a good reason for it, I should be able to understand that reason, because then it allows me to apply that line in the standard appropriately in different situations. And if the line is not applicable, if I don't understand the intent of the standard, then I can't filter when it's applicable or not applicable. We work with large organizations. We work with little tiny organizations, tiny companies, 1, 2, 3 people companies. And so in a small company, like, that's got, we have a client that we're talking with right now. The whole plant is less than 1,000 square feet. And then you go in plants that are 1 million square feet. Well, of course, the needs are not going to be the same. So if you don't understand the intent of a standard, you're not going to be able to apply it appropriately in a million square feet, and you're not going to be applied or kind of verify it appropriately in 1 million square feet, and you're not going to be able to verify it appropriately in a 1,000 square feet either. So that's the why is, anyways, it's quite important.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And I think this is a good example here from LinkedIn user. This may be Jose. We never had a problem before, right? That is a perfect example of backwards looking. Right?
Looking in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, we never had a problem before, so we're never going to have a problem in the future. That mentality is driving the car, looking in the rearview mirror. You're going to crash. You're going to crash. So examples, right? So we'll kind of clarify this, but I think it's pretty clear. But right, so builders, good examples of builders, continuous improvement, right? So your continuous activities for continuous improvement, that's building, right? You're changing things, you're tearing it down, and you're making it better. Change management, all the activities we have around change management, corrective action versus preventative action, right? Examples of that as well. Maintainers, the company policy book, right? So HR has their policies, right? Those are maintaining the standards in the company. Audits, as we talked about as well. And so to your point, Alex, too, like it's tricky because it's even that is based upon the context of the situation. But the auditor is there to say, okay, here is the standard you're required. How do you do this, and how do you make sure that you're doing it correctly, right? How do you create that level within that company to verify that you're doing those things?
You had a very interesting on Monday. You had a very interesting perspective on roles, because some roles are more aligned with maintaining, and others are more aligned with creating. And you were talking about a quality manager, and we might think, oh, a quality manager is a maintainer or is a creator, but really it really depends on the size of the company. And you might want to give your example of the Nestle,
that's perfect. Yeah, because Well, number one is, and I want to be clear on this too, Alex, is
Yeah.
they're both needed and they're both necessary, right? If you had a company that was full of a bunch of builders, you're not going to build anything because they're just going to end up fighting with each other all the time. You need a balance between maintainers and builders. And to your point, larger the company, the less chance you have to be a builder. So that's something also people need to figure out for their careers is if you're a builder and you love creating new things and you're in a large bureaucratic company, you're not going to be happy, right? Unless they put you in, let's say, the continuous improvement team or something like this, where you have a specific role where it's designed for that. You're not going to be happy because you're going to be going to your boss and saying, "Hey, why don't we change this?" And the boss is going to be like, "No, that's not why I hired you." And you can always find. I would always look in plants, right? You need to identify who those people are in your plant. You need a stable group of maintainers. Like 80% of your workforce is these maintainers. There's builders that are hidden in there. You need to find those people and work with them. If you want to your point earlier, Alex, if you want to bring things up to a new level, you need to work with the builders. You need to find out who they are. And they'll be in all kinds of different departments. In this plant example, let's say that the head of maintenance is a builder, right? He wants to create a new PM program. He doesn't like what it is. Builder, right? Let's help each other on that. Let's put something together, right? They'll become your allies.
And sometimes, like, efficiency, gaining efficiency is, in a way, it's building. Like, improvements are building. And so one of the things we often talk about is the difference between managing food safety and developing food safety programs. Now, they require different skills, and managing is a maintaining function. You've got a set of and you've got a set of expectations, and you make sure that those expectations are met continuously, like they're met every day, and that you meet your So, anyways, that's maintaining. But say our programs are delivering this level of whatever, and we want to deliver that level instead. So you're improving the program, and that's going to happen through modifications and improvements to those programs. And so let's say when I say improve, the level, like the food is safe, but the team is not engaged as much, or we have to do a big cleanup before the auditor comes over, and we would like to be ready every day. So we need to do this and that. So you've got programs that are delivering kind of, we're passing our audit, and that's a level of safety if you want, but you want to be ready every day. Well, that's a big change. And there's a ton of companies that are certified today that might be very happy to know how to be ready every day. And that's not going to happen through efficiency. That's not an incremental change. That's a huge step change. And that requires agents, it requires the work of building, not the work of maintaining.
Well, and a point of clarification here as well is that at the opposite, let's put these on a spectrum. Builders on one side, maintainers on the other side. People are not 100% one or the other. You have certain in every job. And what I build into objectives for my team members in the past is your job description is the things that you're doing to maintain your role. Your objectives are then your building activities. So, for example, you're a regional quality manager. Your job is to go out, to your point, Alex, to audit the facilities, ensure compliance, follow up on complaints, et cetera. You're maintaining the system. The building piece then of what I would then base the bonuses on is, what are we going to do over the next year to improve, to your point? So complaint rates are too high. What is the project that you're going to lead to reduce complaint rates and figure out root cause? And then that's building, right? Everybody needs that balance. And as part of a manager, you need to figure out what side people lean to. So if you're working with a food engineer who very much is comfortable with the maintaining piece and working within an existing structure, and you push them too much into the building side of things, they're not going to be happy again, right? So you need to be very aware of that with your teams. So really, it's a challenge, right? Because part of this is, let's say that you now want to, let's say that you're running quality for a company, Alex, and you want to be that change agent. You've identified things and you want to change things. this is where a lot of quality people mess up, right? Is they'll say, well, no, okay, it's self-obvious, right? We want to, let's say, become, to your example, GFSI certified, and we're going to go after SQF. We're not SQF now, but we need to do that. And right, you pull out the standard and you start going around to people and saying, this is the standard and this is what it says we have to do.
That, you need to do that. You need to do that. You need to do that. And
yeah. And you walk away from that and everybody's like, no, I don't have to do anything, buddy. Yeah. I don't work for you. And then quality people will then start whining about this, or they'll start saying, well, I'll just nag people harder, right? Back to what we were talking about earlier, which then just builds more resistance. And you just end up fighting and fighting and fight. And you're going to lose. You're going to burn out. You're going to give up and you're going to lose, right? So you have to put that time in. Because like it or not, most of the company doesn't understand a lot of what we do and they don't care. They have their own stuff to do.
And we like one of the things we talked about is a very important thing. Like if you want to be an agent of change, you're going to facilitate change. So you're not going to impose change. Like one of the first things we do when we start a project is, as I said, like we're here, you want to get there, you need to have a kind of a come to Jesus moment. Okay, this is what's really happening. So you want like people having an expert that comes over and says, okay, well, this is a big deal. That's not a big deal. Where is everybody at? What, where we're at. We also need to define where we want to be. And we just don't work with people who don't want to work collaboratively, because nothing happens if you don't work collaboratively. Nothing happens if the maintenance manager is not part of the food safety team. Nothing happens if sanitation and so on and so forth. And maintenance needs to understand that anything maintenance related, it's their thing, So the glass control program and this and that. So it's it's more than just showing up once a year or once a month to a meeting. But anyways, then my role or the role of the agent of change in that context is to say, okay, we've all agreed on these goals. We all kind of have an idea of where we are. Then now we need to find out where the overlap is. What is it that people are already doing? Because typically the a quality manager doesn't understand what's happening in the maintenance department. Yeah, you might have a good kind of a decent understanding, but there's so much more to it. Like I don't understand what's happening in maintenance department. Like there's so much detail to equipment. But being able to say, okay, well, this is what maintenance does. This is what we need, and finding what's the overlap here and where is it that we can work together is about is almost 100% of what I do. I mean, there's some technical expertise that I bring in, but finding the overlap and being able to get people to take on the work in the various departments so that they work together. That's the big that's part of the process. Because the agent of change holds the process. Really, the agent of change doesn't do the stuff. They just hold the process so that everybody else can get the work done.
Oh, that's a really good point, Alex, because if you think, okay, well, nobody's going to help me, so I'm just going to do this all myself. I'm going to sit in my office and write policies and procedures and tell people what to do. Oh my God, you're going to fall flat on your face. You have to reach out, and this is, you need to recognize, and this is something that technical people need to do, is you need to recognize that there's other people with other concerns in the world, right? So you need to work with, we'll stick with our maintenance example. You need to get into that maintenance manager's shoes and say, what does he care about? What is she working on? What are her objectives for this year? Their objective is to improve operational efficiency with machine downtime. Fantastic, right? How can I help you with that from a quality standpoint? Hey, here's some Six Sigma tools that may help you, etc. If you help them achieve their goals, they're going to help you achieve yours.
But there's huge overlap with operational efficiency and food safety. It's like, oh, look at that. Like it's almost all the same, Like, it is possible to have a piece of equipment that runs and slowly deteriorates and creates foreign material contamination. So like it's not a complete overlap. There are some differences, but the overlap is huge. Like if a company is committed to operational efficiency and improving that side, it doesn't take a whole lot to take that ship that's going here and tweak it a little bit and say, okay, well, for food safety, how do we know which tasks are going to have an impact on food safety? How can we do that while being safe? It's not a matter of saying, well, we take that ship and we ship it. We have to move it, 90 degrees or 180 degrees. There are other situations where you have to move the ship that way. But finding the areas of overlap means that, or helps that. Helps
Yeah,
the work
and
of getting the team on board. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you are, let's keep with our example of the quality manager in a plant, and you have your peers. So you have the operations manager and the procurement manager and the warehouse person, the maintenance manager. You all have to work together as a team, and you have to explain to them why this crazy GFSI thing is needed. It's going to help everyone do their jobs better and helping them achieve that. Hey, wouldn't it be nice if your job was easier? Well, yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, let's try and work together to do that. Oh, and by the way, while we're doing that, food quality and food safety improve too, right? Everybody is there for a reason. And the other key piece of this then too is you have to be able to communicate this upwards, right? So you've got three channels of communication. You've got, speaking to the plant, right? Speaking to the teams, talking and explaining it to them why it's important to them. Your coworkers in the plant, and then up, right? So to the plant manager or the VP or whoever it is, because as Alex explained, within this conversation, in this context, as we were talking before, what does the CEO care about, right? What does the ops VP care about? Right? They care about the budget. They care about saving money. They care about being more efficient. You have to speak their language. Every time you're talking with these different stakeholders that you want to bring in on this, you have to explain it in terms that they understand and gets them excited of how they are going to reach their goals.
Totally. And part of the job is to being able to speak everybody's language, being able to speak maintenance with maintenance, being able to speak kind of with the C-suite, being able to talk sanitation with sanitation. But then often one of the things that happens in about 100% of organizations is there's some communication breakdowns at various levels, and being able to explain what's happening in one department to another department is very very useful. If I can speak to this department, I can speak to that department. If those two can't speak together, then it allows me to come in and say, well, you know what, like they want this and those guys want that, and I can kind of negotiate between the two and get them to agree to do things that they don't mind. That's going to move the whole ship in the direction that we want to go. But if they were left to their own dynamics, maybe that would never happen.
Right. So part of this, and I think part of our overall theme, is making yourself in the quality and food safety role useful to the organization, right? And just not being stuck in your little quality food safety bubble. And it's a theme, Alex, that comes up time and time again here on the chats. Is there's your technical skills, the important things you need to do to be able to do your role, very, very important. But the other side is as much or more important depending where you are in the scale of the organization. You have to be able to work with other people to get things done.
Corin has a comment there, and it's really funny because it's exactly what we were talking about with the dad joke and the fact that in different cultures people understand different things. In communication, it's really not about what I'm saying. It's about what you're hearing. So I've got to adjust what I'm saying to make sure that what you're hearing is aligned with what I'm trying to say, because there's the you're going to react to what you're hearing. And so if we can eventually get to a point where we're speaking the same where we understand each other, then it's so much easier to find the common grounds and to move forward. So
exactly,
your communication is adjusting your communication. Like it's so much about listening. Like communication is so much about listening. Is a lot more about listening than about speaking. So you were using the word, you have to explain to people. And I would never in a million years explain anything to anybody, because it's not about, in my world, and this is not a criticism, I'm just saying from my perspective, I want to talk about something and I want for people to get somewhere. And I will explain stuff if I'm being asked to explain something. But if I'm getting in the room and I say, okay, well, you've got this objective here. Let's talk about, and I don't say you've got this objective. I say, okay, let's unpack this. And I let people speak, and using the words that people use is extremely important, because then they feel heard. Go figure. And also it kind of allows them to see if I'm using the word in the same way as they're using it, which is extremely important. And that kind of not bridge, but that builds the rapport. And then once people have an objective here, then it's easy to say, well, okay, we're over here, and then the questions are going to, well, how do we get there? And that's where we can start exploring things together. And so I would say I explore things a lot more than I explain, because people make up their own decisions. They make up their own mind. So I think it's a small word, and Maureen is going to talk about wordsmithing always, and I'm guilty of that, like way too much. But it has a big impact. Like it's the word is not important, but the kind of the approach is really important, I find.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so I'll throw this example out here. Let's say, for example, that you want to institute document control in the company, and I'm the quality person, and let's say that you're the operational supervisor on the floor, Alex. What's more impactful? If I come to you and say, okay, Mr. Hanley, we're implementing SQF version 9, and according to 2.2.1.2 subparagraph B, all companies are required to have a document control management with change control in place with necessary versus, hey, Alex, is it important for your team to always have the correct information for manufacturing so that everybody knows what they're supposed to do? Yeah, super important. How do you do that now? Well, I go and get copies of documents and stuff like that. Well, how do you know that the ones that you're giving your team are the most current version? Maybe somebody created a new version and you didn't know about it, and we changed the manufacturing, and it can really screw stuff up. Oh, God, you're right.
Does it ever happen? Does it ever happen that somebody uses the wrong document? Like, like in what case? Like, where does it happen? You don't even have to say does it. You say, where does it happen the most? And then as soon as they answer, it's like, oh, we need document control. It's pretty, but
yeah, you have to take them on the journey.
Yeah,
which reminds me of a funny story. I mean, I can guarantee everybody here on this call, and comment on this if this has happened to you, is when you're going through this process, and this document analogy reminded me of this, right? Is if you're a supervisor on the floor, you don't want to waste time, at the copy machine every morning, printing out and copying your forms for your team to fill out. You're like, it's much more efficient if I go to the copy machine once a month and print out a stack this thick and put them in my drawer, and then hand them out over the course of the next 6 months to everybody to fill out. Well, in the meantime, that went from revision A to D, and they're still handing out A, right? Because they don't even know that the change is there. They think they're being efficient, but they're actually harming the system, and they don't even know it. That used to drive me nuts.
Yeah. It's less like it's fun, because with technology, this is less of a problem today than it was 10 years ago, because there's so much less paper being printed. But understanding, like, and you can't control everybody. Like, you've got to engage people. I will say something, like, there's a comment, like Pavana says, from her mentor, that heard sometimes it doesn't matter. It says sometimes, but I would say it never, or often, but whatever. It doesn't matter what you say; it matters how you say it. Another very similar thing that I've heard from one of the fellows that well, I mean, we all hear it, but it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to remember what you say, but they're going to remember how you make them feel, and that is, they're going to remember that. That's the tool.
Yep.
When people feel engaged, they're going to go from here to there. When they feel being taught, or not taught, but like, well, they're going to do the bare minimum. If you're in charge and they just have to keep out of trouble, well, they're going to go from here to here. If they're engaged and they, there's so much more that can be done. That reminds me something we were talking about with Duncan quite a while ago. I don't know if I'll remember, but Duncan put it in the notes. I think there were like three. It was something like uh, encourage, uh, something else, and then enforce. And enforce was always, it was kind of the three options, but the third one, enforcing, was always the kind of the the last one.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah, and so in that analogy, and yeah, Duncan, please put those in here when you can. It's like hairnets, right? It's like it's the difference, and I like what Pavani said here too. Is it's the difference between wear a hairnet,
Yeah.
Versus here's a hairnet, and here's why we wear a hairnet. Right? Do you like hair in your food? I don't like hair in my food. We need to keep the hair out of the food.
Why do we do that?
Next,
because you don't mind one of your hair in your food, but I don't want to eat yours, and you don't want to eat mine. So like that's it's just gross. We can do it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and then to your point, that third level is okay. Once some people don't want to listen, right? It's okay, well, fine. We're moving to the next stage. And guess what? Well, maybe you shouldn't be working anywhere where if you don't want to wear your hairnet, you shouldn't be working around food anyway. Encourage, engage,
enforce. Yeah, something like that. But that's exactly the idea. That's exactly the idea.
Yeah. Exactly. So part of this then too that we were talking about as we were preparing this, I wanted to definitely talk about this too. And this gets back into that mirror, looking in the rearview mirror analogy. Is what information are you supplying to people in your company, right? So if you think that, I put out a monthly quality report and it's got the complaints and it's got the corrective actions and it's got the pest control results, and I send it out, I email everybody on the team, I'm done. What? If you're doing that, total waste of time. Number one, that's backwards looking. It's always backwards looking. If you're working, so the closer you get to the actual activity, the more people are going to know. So if you're putting out in the plant a monthly quality report, everybody already knows what happened last month. They know what the problems were last month. Great. Yay. Okay. Who cares? Right? That's kind of brutal, but who cares? That's done and gone. What are we doing moving forward, right? So it's always that struggle that you see, Alex, in auditing, especially, right? Is corrective versus preventive actions. Preventive actions. Okay, great. You corrected that issue. What are you doing to keep it from happening in the future? That second part, which is much, much harder, is where you need to focus, right? What are the things that we need going forward, right? Trend analysis, information. So I use the analogy, Alex, of like a pirate, right? The food plant is a pirate ship, and the captain is, the plant manager is the captain of the ship. Your role in that scenario is you're the parrot, right? You're kind of sitting on you're advising, right? You're sitting on the shoulder of the captain, and you're saying, right, things look good, things going good, right? You say, hey, I really like how things are going, or complaints are trending wrong, right? We're complaints are going up. We're trying to figure out why we're seeing these type of things. I'm worried about it. That tells him that he needs to be worried about it too. You need to be that advisor and mentor. And that forward-looking function is where you should be spending the majority of your time in that role. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's the interpretation of results. It's not showing the results. Like, as you said, everybody knows the results. If there was a problem, everybody heard about it. Everybody had to fix the problem anyways. So everybody's fully aware of of the numbers are just confirming what what they saw was right. But the interpretation is what's really important. It's like, okay, all that being said, where are we going? How do we move forward? And that's the big question. Like that's the role. That's where you can kind of create some dynamics. And
exactly, and we see this with other roles, right? So maintenance is a great example. So it used to be maintenance was, hey, this machine broke down, and the maintenance guy runs out and fixes the pump. Then we moved to PM, preventive maintenance. Like, okay, well, now let's put together some maintenance systems so that we keep it from breaking down. Now we're moving to predictive maintenance and using AI and other tools to, again, look into the future and say, okay, based upon the information we have, here's how we need to model our maintenance program to be the most efficient. Procurement, right? Another good example is procurement. One of procurement's main functions is looking at markets, right? So for example, right now, cocoa, oh my goodness, if you produce chocolate products of any type, cocoa prices are going through the roof. And if you work in procurement, a big chunk of being successful in your role is predicting what's happening in the future with markets and protecting the company. It's like, oh my gosh, cocoa went up $3 a pound. No, we're okay. We have locked in our cocoa supply for the next year, which will save the company $1 million. Right?
Big piles of money. Yeah.
Well, let's see. So Tasia had a comment here. By the way, so Elena and Tasia are on. So Elena has a book club. If people are looking to join that, and they read different books, and they have a giveaway. And Tasia won my book, and he's getting ready to read it. So very curious to get your feedback on that. A friend is having a hard time maintaining her commercial kitchen. She asked me for a suggestion. No one cares what I say is related to food safety. What should I do? I'm losing myself. Right? Well, that's a good example. Right? So that poor person, right? We've all been in that position. Nobody cares. Nobody listens to me. Does she understand what their position is? Right? Commercial kitchen. What's the context? What are they trying to do? How do you help support that? And then how do you help them understand food safety and understand how do you, because part of this, right, is, hey, guess what? If we have a hepatitis outbreak because our employees aren't following good manufacturing in the kitchen, we're going to be shut down and we're all going to lose our jobs. How do we keep that from happening?
I have a buddy who's kind of he works at camp, and he's the head. I don't know what his title is, but anyway, he's kind of the head chef for a camp with 1,000 people, 3 meals a day, subs, and like so huge kitchen, hundreds of employees, and all that. And we talk food safety all the time, and it's really interesting because his big complaint about food safety is that the material that's put out is completely disconnected from the reality of the people on the line and the challenges that the companies have. People are picking up garbage on the floor. They're not washing their hands. They're like, there's simple stuff. Like there's a rag that falls on the floor, or like a rag, like a towel that falls on the floor or something. They pick it up and they're going to use it to wipe something. Like just the very, very simple stuff that happens every day. And if you focus on fixing those things, rather than all the theory about knowing all the microbes and all the this and all the that, all the information that is absolutely never going to, like, it's true that that's what we're trying to avoid. Like norovirus, like nobody's going to care about norovirus in a kitchen. Okay. They just don't, they don't care. There's no point talking about it. You can talk about it, but it's kind of talking about aliens or stuff like that. Like it's enough to say that it's really gross to not wash your hands after you've blown your nose. Like you don't have to make it any more complicated than that. But if you say that, you're a lot closer to people there. I'm not saying they cannot understand. I'm saying in a lot of cases, they just don't care. So again, if we're trying to listen and say, okay, what do they care about? If they want to hear about it, yeah, sure. If they want to, if gory stories is going to make people more engaged, by all means, use them. But don't feel compelled to talk about the science behind anything, because if science is a good tool, let's use it. I'm not saying let's not be scientific. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we don't have to talk to science, to people who are more interested in whatever, like in a reality show or something, like whatever, like talk about things that people are interested in.
Yeah, exactly. And so Jill has a good observation here as well. So Jill and Tia are catalysts, right? And this is part of their bread and butter, and their business is helping people with this. How do we move the new narratives closer to what is needed? If we're stuck in, they always do that, nobody listens, right? The woe is me, you're never going to get out of that. And so I'm seeing in here, and this is very good, right? People are recognizing this. It's people want to be understood. Okay? So you can't go and dictate to people and tell them, here's what you need to do, right? And that's something in our preamble that, when we talk here on the Food Safety Chat, Alex, is, this is not a lecture. This is meant as a way to help people share information, right? We're not here to tell you what to do. We're here to help you go in the right direction.
As somebody had a comment about not changing gloves while after picking up trash. One day I was in the washroom and somebody was wearing their disposable glove in the washroom. It's like, my goodness gracious Lord, like. But that's that's exactly it. Like that's where it comes. Anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And what's interesting about this,
about the real stuff. real stuff is so engaging. Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
completely
agree. So part of this too, right, is and this gets into the mirror analogy as well too, Alex, is
yeah.
we always look external, right? And the hard reality and the hard truth is if you're having trouble communicating and getting people to cooperate with what you're trying to achieve, look in the mirror. Right? It's probably you that's creating the issue. And people don't like that, right? No, that's no, this, no, what? Right. And they get very defensive. What is, and so Scott Adams talks about this on his podcast. What is your talent stack? We're all unique individuals and we all have a unique set of skills and abilities that interestingly build on top of each other. So there are the technical skills that we've developed. What are our skills that we've developed in communications? What are our skills that we've developed in negotiation? What are our skills that we've developed in budget development? In order to be a successful food safety quality manager, you have to have a very big stack of skills. You need to be able to look at those and say, and this is sometimes very painful, right? Is what am I missing in my stack? What is not working here? And those are blind spots. And odds are you can't see them. But guess what? Other people do, right? If you're a bad communicator, and if you go into meetings and say, we need to institute change management for the synergy of the paradigm, and you start talking in all buzzwords and all this word salad, you think you're being very, you're a master orator and you're just doing this amazing job and everybody is rolling their eyes as soon as you leave the room. Right? Yeah. It's just, okay, whatever, right? And you're fooling yourself. You have to find those things out, and it can be a very difficult process.
One of the things we talked about on Monday, Bryan, was the question, because one of the things that really puts off management is when people say management is not committed. Like when I said you have to understand what's happening on the other side before saying that somebody's not committed, you'd better walk the 7 miles in their shoes to see what they're all the balls they're juggling and all the things they're doing, and how being committed to food safety fits in that thing. If you want to even be able to talk about, never mind accusing somebody or pointing the finger at someone for not being committed. And I'm not saying people can be more committed. Like the more, and there's always more, and we always want more. So I fully agree with that. But often not committed is a way to just break the conversation. But what we were talking about while we were prepping was I had asked you the question: is it top down or bottom up? Like, do we need top down or bottom up? And I don't remember what you came up with, but it was very interesting. Do you do you remember the example you used?
No, but I'm sure it'll come to us if we think about it more, right? Is top down, bottom up? We'll file that away, and I'm sure it'll come to me. So a nice call out here. Alex, definitely have to bring this up. So I had a CEO rethink his stance on a flat hierarchy, and that was not working for food safety by having him watch videos on your website. Look at that.
That's really cool.
Cool. Very cool.
What I have to, I love hearing that. I love hearing, like, if I the first thing we do is always a gap assessment when we work with customers. It's a completely different thing. Okay, we call it a whole system gap assessment, and we don't even look at a standard. But really when we want to get people to be ready to develop their capacity to maintain the program all the time. And often, like, we'll start the day and people will be overwhelmed and think that they can't do it. It happens all the time. And over again, I hear people at the end of the day say, well, now I think I can do it. Now I think we've got and that change, like that is what we're seeking. Like that's the kind of stuff that really makes my day. Exactly in the same way as Yamisa comment there. Like if we can be a little part of helping someone make that kind of change, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
because the impact.
So I think that highlights, and this is a great way to kind of, we're at about the 5-minute mark here, but I definitely wanted to get this piece out. is that let's say that you've decided that you're a change agent in the company and you want to improve things and start doing this step change. Number one, you cannot do it on your own. You will absolutely 100% fail 100% of the time if you try and do this on your own, sitting in your office writing documents. You need to, and this goes back to what I had referenced to earlier, builders and maintainers. You need to find builders who want to build with you. Right? So that was key. So for me, early in my career, when I first went through my major building operation in a company, I had control of quality, young kid, and I recognized this. And luckily at the time, I was smart enough to recognize this. And one of the key people that I pulled to help me in this change process was a production supervisor. Carmen was her name. Okay. And I went to the plant manager and said, I need help. Here's what I want to do. I need help. I want to pull Carmen off of her day-to-day duties and have her help me. And he said, that's amazing. Let's do that, right? A fantastic growth opportunity for her. And she's had a really good career. And the other piece of it is I went to my team and said, hey guys, guess what? I'm going to be launching this major project in the company. My time is going to be tied up a lot in this. And I trust all of you. I need to push down a lot of my maintaining activities to you. So I will help you.
Should do all the time. That's the manager's job. You're the supervisor, you supervise. You're the operator, you operate, and I'll manage, and that means building stuff.
Right. And that was extreme. It gave everybody growth for opportunities and improved their skill sets. And it showed collaboration in the organization. And we were very successful with this process. And I'm not saying it happened overnight. It took us, Alex, almost 2 years to go through this process. But by the time we were done, we had world-class quality. It was, and people, the momentum grows. And to get back to the comments we're seeing with frustrated people, we totally get that. People want to see evidence that this is theoretical. They don't care. Show me that this works. And once people start,
my life, if I'm the maintenance manager, my life has got to be easier at the end of the day. Hey, Bryan, I want to make two quick comments before Corin totally got it right. The trick was in the question. It's not, is it better top down or bottom up? The or is the trick there, because it's an and. It's got to be both top down and bottom up. But get your button ready, because if you look at Duncan's answer, I think, or not his comment, that deserves a womp.
Yep, you have to be part of the solution.
You're not gonna give him a dad joke.
Oh,
like
sure.
Duncan's ready for that.
I will give him applause.
Oh, applause! I thought it would fit perfectly for a dad joke.
It was, and he's always very good at that. But I'm not going to give him that. No, he gets applause.
It's super good comments. It's super exciting to see people so engaged. We can't keep up with the comments, which is fun because you're all keeping up with them. It's a super interesting topic, Bryan. I feel like we've barely scratched it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and part of this, I think this chat itself is a demonstration. If you're sitting alone in your company thinking you're completely isolated and you have no one to talk about this with, yeah, you do. Right? This is where a lot of times external sources help, right? You need people externally to say, oh my gosh, Alex, I'm trying all these things and it's not working. Oh, have you tried this, right? It helps to have those outside perspectives. And as we talk about on the chat, and Alex, you say this all the time too, right? Well, what we do is not a competition. It's perfectly ethically acceptable to talk with other food safety professionals about these type of things. Of course, don't give trade secrets. Don't talk, common sense, right? We are all needing document control. We all need change management. We all need complaint investigate. All these, we're all doing the same stuff.
The line between confidential and not confidential, like that is a topic. The line between consulting and just talking, like that is a big question. Like we need to resolve those if we want to be able to better collaborate. Yeah, totally.
Yep. So if you're going to be, and we'll summarize it with this. I just thought of this little pithy thing. We'll see what you like it. If you're going to be a change agent in a company, you need to be a diplomat, not a dictator. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put that in the comments. I'm very proud of myself.
Good, Bryan. I'm proud of you too.
Be a diplomat, not a dictator. There we go. So as we close out the chat here, fantastic, everybody. Amazing commentary. Anything, Alex, that you're up to that you want to let people know about? Or
there's so much I don't even know where to start. I'd have to ask Maureen. My marching orders. We're working on a ton of stuff. We're working on some. We've got some training offers. We're working. We've got some webinars that we're working with Kima. We're what else? I don't know. There's just too much. Check out our website. It's all there.
Yep. So earlier in the chat, I put the website.
And reach out. Like anybody, reach out. Reach out if you want to chat. If you've got some ideas, anything. Like just Yep.
Absolutely. Here's our emails. Reach out.
Emails right there.
Time went way too fast again. And you can see why Alex and I enjoy our conversation so much, because we just feed on each other, and it's amazing. I love it. So with that, guys, we're going to bring our chat to a close here for this week. Thank you again very much. And thank you, Alex, for your insight and expertise. Always greatly appreciated. And Maureen in the comments, we like you as well. So next week, of course, we'll be back again, 8 a.m. Mountain Time, 10 a.m. Eastern, where we live stream on LinkedIn and YouTube. And the next Food Safety Chat will be at that time. And I will bring on another amazing guest like Alex. But in the meantime, guys, enjoy your weekend. Have a good time. It's going to be cold here. I'm going to be out scooping some snow. So,
deal on, in the comments. You know, we have a great deal on HACCP training, and if you buy the training, you get an hour of my time, and we go through your HACCP plan together. If you want that, reach out for Maureen. There she is.
There you go, right there. info@navigatefoodsafety.com. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.